Welcome to the Balanced Collective, where we love to go deep, talk big, and get real. I'm your host, Danielle Boyd, and every episode is going to bring a new concept or guest to talk all about things wellness, balance, and alignment. Our purpose here is to bridge the concepts of science and spirit to bring wellness and ease into the lives of our listeners while not taking life too seriously. We like to get down and deep into our shadow while keeping things raw, fun, and real. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get to it. Whew, I don't even know where to start with this one. This episode was so much fun. My dear friend, Erin Rogers, wow, what a treat. Erin came into my life a few months ago, I guess now, through a mutual friend, and I have just been absolutely blown away by not only who Erin is as a person, but who she is in just stepping into her power, and as she puts it, stepping out of the spiritual closet. Our conversation today was really, really interesting. She's delving into a whole new world of just spiritual coaching and guidance. And I loved what we talked about today. It was all about tapping into your intuition and just learning how to trust it. She talks a lot about her new offerings that she is going to be doing sessions with anyone around, specializing in what she would call soul mapping, which she dives heavily into astrocartography, human design, and then surrounding that in an intuitive guidance container, which is really, really beautiful. In this episode, she actually gave me a little mini reading, which was really, really special. And I am just so grateful that she took the time to do it. Not only did she give me some really exciting insight into some travels I have coming up, but she gave me a really, really cool intuitive reading and tapped into a little bit of past life stuff, which is so amazing. And I just love this stuff. I can't get enough of it. And I know that you'll probably get the same impression from Erin from this episode as well. So I really hope that you guys can find an opportunity to work with Erin because she has unlocked some really, really cool stuff for me. I know she actually is about to launch a contest on her social media platforms. So make sure to listen at the end to learn a little bit more about how to get a hold of her and learn a little bit more about this contest that she's about to launch. So without further ado, I will let you tune in for my conversation with my dear friend, Erin Rogers. Erin, hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to learn a little bit more about what you've been up to the last couple months because I have witnessed an amazing transformation and stepping into power in the last couple months, and I can't wait to unpack it all. So thank you. Before we get started really diving into your work that you're doing, I'd love to know, who is Erin the human outside of the work that she's doing?
I think Erin is a seeker either way, and that might be a seeker of a new experience, a seeker of meeting new people, seeker of understanding something new, but definitely experiences are something that drive me. So whether because I'm gluten-free, it's finding the best gluten-free cookie, or discovering the next cool place to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorites would definitely be reading books. So I have a bit of a book addiction, but I think that just defines a lot of it. Obviously connecting with people, probably to transition to fairly deep, consistent conversations versus not as light and fluffy as it used to be.
Yeah.
But all those things along with, working.
Yeah.
In a regular full-time non-woo-woo job, which I do love, but it's not the same. Keep me pretty busy.
Yeah. So woo-woo you mentioned is, I mean, we laugh and we call it woo-woo, but it's actually very, very interesting and very scientifically energetic, if you want to call it that, I guess. But the work that you're moving into is a little bit different than your day job. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the work that you have moved into and that you're putting a lot of your energy and time into right now?
Yeah. I've seen clearly that part of my time here is to be a messenger. And for me, it's a messenger to help people find their true essence in terms of we all purposefully, I believe, dropped into this lifetime with a set of skills and experiences that were meant to help us fulfill our soul's purpose. And so for me, as a seeker, I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. And I think some of the tools I'm using now really help me see myself clearly. And I think specifically around sometimes the things we're not great at is the thing we can really beat ourselves up about it. At least I know I can and have, and I probably will sometimes. But to be able to see, for me, the soul mapped out in a sort of a bit of a more logical way in terms of using some tools that we would call logical these days, it just made sense to me for the first time that it wasn't an accident. It's all purposefully designed and all a building block to create who I am, where I'm going, and hopefully what I can give to others, which was really enlightening for me. And then it was kind of one of those things that, you know, what's your thing when you can't stop talking about it? Maybe at inappropriate times. To a shocking degree, I'd say inappropriate times. And not inappropriate in terms of like it's rude or something, but just like, have you heard about human design? Oh, cool. And then it's like I can't help but just drop the nugget for someone to go explore. And sometimes they come back to me and sometimes they don't. But it was just so affirming that I felt like I had to tell everybody about it.
And how cool that, you know, like having those conversations and maybe, you know, an inappropriate amount has led you to kind of, you know, you're redefining your tribe and finding, you know, like a new community to expand into. And so sometimes having those conversations really finds more people that you align with and perhaps want to have those deeper conversations with.
Totally. Like I think a strength of mine is adapting to any situation. Problem is, all of a sudden I found myself that I adapted to the situations I wasn't interested in. I was like, I don't actually want you to like me or not like me. What am I doing? I was sort of morphing to fit in, to be comfortable, versus standing my ground in what I believe in and drawing the right people to me. And sort of standing my ground and just saying like, hey, this is who I am. Let my flag fly. I've attracted some like beautiful souls and experiences and interactions, and it's just been a nice change to step into myself more wholly and then see what comes to me versus always trying to shapeshift into fitting in with others. I said again today, I was talking to someone we both know, and the only way I can best describe it is I feel like I finally got put back in the water and I've stopped trying to fly.
Wow.
That's just that's where I feel like I'm finally literally going with the flow, because I'm in where I'm supposed to be. And I spent all of my life not understanding why I wasn't a good flyer.
Wow. I really like that. And the euphemism of water too is so powerful. I mean, water is very symbolic in the support and the energy that it has as well. And the grounding capacity. And we've obviously had lots of conversations around water and the earth and all that. But I think that's a really, really brilliant metaphor for what you're going through right now. So in talking about your soul's purpose, would you say that this new work that you're doing, which we'll dive into a little bit more, is your soul's purpose?
It's the start of the yellow brick road towards my soul's purpose is the best way I can describe it. I know it's the first step on the sort of gold bricks, and it's the right step. But I also believe, because I'm a seeker, I'm never going to find the end point. It's continually going to grow, and that's okay too. Which in part of that it's hard for me. Because I want the answer now. I want you to specifically tell me where I'm going and what the end point is, and it's like at 47. You were gonna be there. And I kind of had the vision recently where there is no there to be, and so you better get good with the journey, because that's how your life is going to unfold. So it feels more like the first step on the path to where I'm meant to be going, versus I was really on a dirt road to nowhere for a long time. It's the best visual. I do like visuals, I will say. But that's the best way I can describe it.
I love that. I love the concept of like there is no there, there's only here and now. Really, very cool.
So for right now, this feels very soul fulfilling. It actually complements what I do for my 9 to 5 as well, I feel like. But sure, I can't get enough of it. All I want to do is talk about it, be like, come see me. Let's talk about it. Oh my gosh, I will tell you all the fabulous things, because I think it's just so exciting to see someone's soul light up, because I recognize their soul versus who they're trying to be.
It's your energies meeting each other instead of just the superficial.
And I feel like we have good mini examples, like when we were all away that weekend, and I was like, well, let me just tell you. And you were like, yeah, and that's what I've got going on, and that's kind of the consistent message I get back is being seen wholly, and then you can work from there.
Yeah.
Stop trying to work from a weak foundation. I believe this gives you a really strong foundation, and then you're empowered to make all these really cool decisions from your strengths and like who you are here to be, versus like that uncomfortable best guessing because you're not really clear on where you're starting from.
Right. Yeah. And so it's making choices out of alignment and out of truth and out of, that soul voice as opposed to like shoulds, woulds, and, have to do.
Totally. That's how I feel anyways. Yeah.
Very cool. So I guess would you call it, the title of the work that you're doing is called soul mapping. How would you describe soul mapping and what does kind of a typical session with you look like?
So for me currently, how I'm defining it is I look at your human design. I look at your astrocartography, and then I do an intuitive reading to complement that. So human design is a combination of your astrological map, the I Ching. I really hope I'm saying that right. I feel like I need to double check. The Tree of Life from the Kabbalah, and it's kind of a multi-layered approach to create this version of yourself that comes in this literal, looks like a human body with triangles and squares and lines, but it kind of gives you a deeper, I believe, viewpoint of what maybe you might just find from reading, say like you're a sun sign. So it gives you an in-depth view of that, how you respond to the world, how you take on energy, how you maybe don't take on energy, how you may interact with others,
right?
All the way to like your energy type. So our dear friend who is a projector, human design says they're only supposed to work 4 hours a day.
Right.
We are generators. We are the builders. We are the workers. We need to find what we're lit up by, but through that we can work, as much as we'd like.
Right.
Versus manifestors versus reflectors. And then what astrogeography or cartography, you'll find like a few different ways to describe it, did for me, it showed like the energy I was born under. So what happens is it takes the skies that appeared, your natal chart on the night of your birth when you were born, and it lays it out on a map. And those lines align to different places in the earth. And so for me, like was born on my moon's node, Neptune and my moon. It tells me I'm continually a seeker. That tells me that
Weird.
I'm interested in karma and seeking and understanding and deep spirituality and meaningful conversations. The surface level is definitely challenging and more so for me these days. But once I saw it, I was like, oh,
makes sense.
Okay, well now that's really validating, because I thought I was just over here doing all this weird stuff, pushing along, purely frustrated when you look around, you're like, well, what? They're not doing this. Why do I keep doing this to myself? And so to me, the combination of the two was just so affirming.
Wow.
And then we have some people we've worked with in terms of like mentors. They use their intuition to help me see myself, because sometimes the hardest person to see is yourself. And so then I apply that gift to others.
Yeah.
In some specific details, I don't want to prophesize. I think prophesizing can be, a challenge, but I'm here just to reaffirm your energy, experiences you may have had, and if anything is helpful, because it's always for your best and highest good.
Yeah, of course.
Something that's forward looking. But I guess the only thing I want to say, and it's always important for people to know this, is you're still in control. It's still your choice. So nothing is written in stone in the same way. Because I think sometimes I get nervous. People give or receive messages that all of a sudden you feel like you're working towards because it's been implanted in your mind, versus this is merely a suggestion of the energy you're reflecting at the time you're sitting with me.
Right. And it's easy to get a lot of people have an idea in mind, and then they'll just keep pushing forward towards this specific idea or goal or whatever it is, but perhaps that isn't for their greatest and highest good.
Yeah.
And, based on all that information, we can learn to go with the flow a little bit more, sit in the water and roll with it, and then, still keep that intention in mind, but maybe achieve it in a different way, or maybe it looks a little bit differently. But if we, keep that intention with a different energy, it can still happen, and we don't need to push, but maybe it looks a little different. Or
like, I don't know if for you, but for me, the more I'm doing this, the more I'm in flow. Like for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we're talking about? Like I've given some examples, but things just come to me, versus before I felt like I was always just like, come on, give it to me, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to go and get it. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm receiving.
Yeah.
And it's because I've stepped into flow And I mean, there's 95 million other things I've done, but what the end result is that I'm receiving.
Right.
Truly receiving and feeling like I'm in a comfortable place in my life and body and my soul. Right. I don't know. Do you feel like from some of the work that you've done this year that that's a similar?
Completely. And I feel it a lot more when I'm in that open and ready to receive energy versus when I'm in like, oh God, I got to get this done. I have so much on my plate. And when I start to feel that energy creep in, that's when I know, okay, time to hit the mat, time to do some yoga, time to meditate, time to, do the breath work, do that hard work to get back into that state, because that's where ease and joy and flow are found. And so I think what I've learned is, energetically and physically to feel that disconnect a lot better, whereas that was kind of just my natural state of being previously.
I feel like we're both guilty pushers.
Yeah.
I want that, I'm going to push for it. And just flipping the script to be like, what if it came just to you?
Yeah. What if it was easy?
And what if you trusted that it came to you?
Exactly.
What if it was easy? I think that's been a really beautiful lesson. That's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think things are easy. And then when it happened, I was just like, oh, well, that's very enjoyable.
Oh, I actually get a lot out of this. Well, and it's funny too. Like, I find that having that change of lens, like, this doesn't have to be hard. Like, I grew up in a family where hard work was very valued, and so if something came to you easily, that wasn't necessarily, that was maybe just luck, or it just
for me it was
happened.
Low value.
Yeah, right. It was only
crazy,
high value if you worked really hard for it, and like money, to get money, it was hard. Whereas, and the old saying is, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And yet I feel like I've never...
that's made up, sure. Okay. But you're still working, right? Like, you feel really tired and you worked hard. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be, like, it doesn't have to be work. It can be ease, it can be flow. And
it definitely felt like a click where I was like, oh, they weren't lying. Those other people saying all those things, they weren't liars. Right? This is really happening. I do feel like it's like I'm thinking of a word that I'm going to embarrassingly say wrong, so I won't say it, but like I've crossed over to seeing it, to actually experiencing the energy I've heard of. And I know it's no longer, it's like I actually like believe there's Santa Claus again almost. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I unfortunately felt like I had to experience it. I don't know, like I had to experience the magic, but the only way I experienced the magic was by believing it was there. Like, it was just it's that whole like circular thing about like what comes first, how do I get there? And then all of a sudden one day you've accidentally let your defenses down, or you did all this work, and it happens, and you're just like, oh, okay, great news, thank you. Here I am. I don't know, I feel like I'm talking crazy talk, but like it was this thing that I was working towards, and then all of a sudden it happened, and I wasn't working towards it anymore. It was just happening. Right.
And sometimes if you zoom out and look at the big picture, you're like, oh, these things are already happening. All these goals that I've been trying to accomplish, they are actually already happening. But they just look a little different than maybe I visualized them. And an awesome example that I keep reverting back to, and you were there when this was happening, and I keep having these visions of myself on a stage. Yeah. And when Laura, our mutual friend, and I taught for Lululemon in New West, they had a little stage set up there. And it was funny, I was laughing. I got off the stage and I was like, that is me on stage. And I was like, like maybe I was envisioning a TED Talk or whatever it looked like in this big auditorium. But I was like, no, like, I am on stage already. And it's like, sometimes you look at it and you just change that lens and you're like, that wasn't so hard actually, and it is already happening.
I feel you had like this amazing realization, because you had that one, and I feel like, not to speak for her, but some version of facilitating the way that she did. And then she was like, oh, that just happened. And I'm like, yeah, that just happened, dude. Like, awesome. But I think it's hard when you hold too tightly to like the box it needs to look like.
Yes.
Like, you defined stage in one way, and the universe decided to make it different and awesome in a different way, and you're like, oh, I see, okay, we're still using the same verbiage for this. You just put it in this really beautiful outdoor stage. Yeah. And I was really beautiful. Boring and put it inside, and like
exactly.
Maybe sit down.
It was really special. Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about your, like, the intuitive readings and how you receive intuition, because obviously people receive it very differently, and I know in the work I do, I receive it very physically, which I'm learning to change, because that's energetically demanding. But we have our different clairs. I'd love to talk about like how you receive your intuitive guidance, and maybe expand a little bit on how you first learned you were intuitive.
Oh man, okay, yeah. That's a funny question. So I think in terms of, and for me, and maybe anyone that's hearing this is a real challenge, because I think some people, when I've discussed this, are like, well, if it's not Morgan Freeman's voice booming in my ear, it's not Intuit. It's not, I'm not getting messages. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. No, that's not how that always goes. And so actually, I really love asking people this question, because I think it really empowers us to know that it's all shapes and forms, and, you know, from how I define it versus my friend. So for me, it's a clair knowing for sure. I had a lot of clair ascension. Is that what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But that was draining me. And I did that for a lot of years. I have recently connected it to a lot of challenges. But I think the moment I really got it was a conversation with my cousin overseas, and I was telling her I was kind of coming into some of this work, and this kind of was feeling really right, and she's like, yeah, no, of course. And we had an uncle that I think passed away when I was maybe 18 months, and she's like, I remember when that happened, and you were talking to him, and you didn't know him, and you were like having a chit chat in the corner, and she's like, I always knew this of you. And I was like, I just failed to mention this to me for like the last whatever many decades. And I was like, and it kind of was like, all of a sudden the universe kept giving me examples of small examples when I'd already done it. I had like terrible deja vu, but like dizzying amounts of it where I fall over almost, because it's so powerful.
Wow.
And so it was like collecting these little experiences in my bucket, or like, I knew someone I'm close to was pregnant before they did. The day they were inseminated, I texted this person and said, hey, like, I know you don't want to talk about this, because obviously that's a really challenging position in terms of going through that experience. But are you pregnant? And they didn't respond, which is very normal of them. And then 3 weeks later, I saw them, and they looked at me, and they were like, I'm pregnant. And I went white as a ghost, like just sheet white. And so I started collecting all these experiences in my bucket, and it kind of was like, oh, this baby is really happening. And then I started experiencing the sentience the most, like just physically overwhelming. And then I started working with a mentor, and I moved into the clair knowing, which has been better. I have had some clair audience, specifically with a ghost in Edinburgh, but that's a story for another time. So I believe I think we all have all of them. The one that's working overtime right now is it's a knowing. So for me, I just know, and it's almost like sometimes I see it as ticker tape running through my mind, and I'm reading the ticker tape to you, the person receiving the message. Is kind of like the best visual I can give you. And then sometimes it's just like it comes out, and I know it's not mine.
Right. Does it sound like you when it comes in?
So far it sounded like me. I don't know if I I don't know if it's because for me that's like more like channeling, or maybe I don't know. For now it sounds like me. And the first time I really knew I was doing it was I was with a friend of ours, and we were going somewhere. She was asking some questions, and I answered, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, that wasn't my answer. She's like, what do you mean it wasn't your answer? And I was like, I don't know. I just know that. I'm like, you know how you just like know things? She's like, no, I don't know how I just know things. And I was like, I don't know, ask me another question. And she did, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the answer. And it was like this really weird exchange where perhaps it had happened in doses, and it's a friend I'm really close with, so we had a lot of safe. Yeah. And all of a sudden it was like, I'm going to say an hour and a half later, and it just kept going. And the stuff I was saying, I was like, this is crazy. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, maybe I can ask questions. So I asked questions, I'm like, oh, it answers me too. And then from there was kind of no looking back. Like it was definitely like deep end we're in. So more it's now understanding the gift, understanding boundaries. Yeah. You know, gift wise or not, which is challenging. Yeah. Because I think I told you before, like my curiosity lends me to lean into this all the time. Yeah. But it's energetically draining. Big time. And so my lesson right now is to energetic boundaries for my own health. And actually then I can, you know, be really in it when I'm in it. But, you know, put the close sign up for now and not take messages. So that's how I experience it currently.
Very cool. It's really interesting talking to different people with different intuitive gifts and learning how they receive it, because it looks very different for everyone. But ultimately it comes down to this just knowing, like just that, like, deep soul knowing that this is what's right, and that, and it feels good. And I know for me, when I know something is right, it just feels good in my body feels relaxed, it feels easy, and it's, you know, it's, there's no resistance to it. It's a really nice feeling. I want to talk a little bit about astrocartography, and I know that we're going to go into a little bit of a mini reading, but astrocartography is a big piece of what you're doing in your readings. And astrocartography, obviously, like you said, is a snapshot of the planetary alignment during the moment of your birth, essentially. How do you use it in a reading? Like, is there different locations worldwide that people need to, or like are more energetically appropriate for, or how do you integrate that?
So I think the one thing is we look at the energy we're born under, and some people aren't born under any energy, which has a different just experience for you. I feel like so there's that's really impactful. I find it really interesting when people tell me where they've been in the world, and I'm like, oh, and then because I also want to help people build their intuition, kind of, well, what did you experience there? And then I'll probably, I found that those planets align to that experience, whether that's like self-discovery or transformation or really hard, everything was hard there, to like a lustful sexual one-night stand also can kind of be told in the stars and where the earth lies. The other thing that I think is really powerful that I learned is that you can call those energies in. Let's give a good example for getting things done. You probably want to call in Mars. Right. So Mars is red. It's passionate, but it's like, it's going to get to work. It's got some guidelines. You got some structure. And let's say you got to edit podcasts. You got to edit all your social media posts. You might want to wear red. You might want to bring in some of the crystals that are associated with Mars. Right. You could listen to music of where your Mars line is in the world. So it's different for you than it is for me. Yeah. So let's say it runs through Louisiana. Maybe you want to listen to some good music from New Orleans that might get you in the mood, but actually it will like trigger that energy in you. You could use visuals. You could take photos, then bring them into your practice, whatever that might be. You also might find that it's always curious to me. So like if your partner was from a certain place in the world, they might carry the energy where your chart is in that area. Whoa. You can go as far as trying to work for a head office in a positive place for you if you can't move there. Because I think part of it used to be that you would move to these energies. Well, we cannot move. Yeah. So those are some of the ways you can pull them in. So that's kind of supportive when people are trying to act on their soul purpose. Supportive energies to align. And one way, we can do lots of different ways. One way is to pull in some of these planetary energies to support us. So cool. Yeah. So it's fun. Like, I think that's the other thing. It's like I'm... not that we're just our sun sign, but I'm Sagittarius, which means I love some travel. Yeah. I've been traveling straight for the last 2 years, so I love some travel. Yeah. It's just fun. At the end of the day, at minimum, this should be fun and interesting and enlightening. It should never be heavy or overwhelming, right? So just have fun with it. I think it's a really nice compliment to people that are looking for some growth or expansion or soul seeking. Cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
So I'm really excited because I know that you have pulled up my chart. Yes. And I would love to go through and just learn a little bit more about this. For those who are, curious, I'm born on January 15th, 1988, and I was born at 11:45 a.m. Apparently.
Very important. I don't know if you've ever seen this Channing Tatum video he put up, but basically one of the things he follows where he's like, well, if your parents love you, they'll know your time you're born. Yeah. And I just think that's so funny because I feel like I've seen some memes about millennials being like texting each other or texting their parents or their partner being like, what time are you born?
Right? When first date, wait a minute, what time are you born at? Yeah, we're no good together.
Yeah, your astrology sign is no longer, your sun sign no longer is going to cut it. We need to go deeper. So for context, so soul mapping is a basic blueprint of your map for your soul here on Earth. That's what I believe. That's how I've configured it. So it combines human design, astrogeography or cartography. It provides a basic blueprint for you to get curious about and uncover who you came here to be. So that's how I see it. My goodness. Hello. And how I interpret that. Where did that come from? Oh, my computer.
That's the universe telling you, like, hello, that's correct. Yeah. This is what you're doing. Ding!
And so we look at your human design. So you're a generator. Yes. So you have the motor to make the things happen. So some people don't have motors, you have a motor. That means but you need to find things that light you up. And so sometimes our jobs can't always light us up, but you should find something in the day that does. And so in terms of being lit up, if you can't do work all day long that lights you up, it might be something like the most beautiful cup of tea before you go to bed. Like, it's something that really gets you excited. Maybe it's your favorite show, it's your favorite activity, it's talking to somebody, but to sort of fuel that energy, you need to find other things to light you up, because sometimes we can't just change jobs right away. So something to keep in mind, and sometimes even being lit up might be changing your perspective.
Right.
Like, you chose this.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful lesson in it. So I think sometimes we get caught up. I always think of it as like the 90s Oprah, where everyone's like, I need to love what I do, I need to have all the things. And you're like, well, you know what? Somebody loves being, I feel like Oprah said janitor, but maybe you do love being a janitor because you're helping people, or you're making it beautiful, or whatever it is. Or maybe you just love that it gives you a paycheck right now. So whatever it might be, right? So I think that's
finding some gratitude within what you are doing, if you're not necessarily, maybe you don't love what you are actually doing, but you really like the person sitting next to you.
Totally. And that might just help your generator heart keep going, even though it's not the perfect ideal piece. You can find it in anything you're looking for, because sometimes we can get really burnt out as generators if we don't like what we're doing.
Yes.
So sometimes, although we're the most energetic beings, we probably also can experience the greatest lows because of that sort of dissonance from where we're meant to be. So things to be aware of if we don't feel like we're filling our cup. Your strategy is to respond.
Right.
Challenging for me, maybe for you.
Yeah.
Responding is tough, but I feel like recently when I've seen it in action, it's been awesome.
Cool.
So not that you can't go after things, but when you respond to the invite, it will feel more in flow. And for me, sometimes it's responding to an intuitive message.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be this complex, like someone gave you the invite, or like I went to Portugal recently, connected with my astrocartography. But part of that was I kept seeing messages about it, and then someone told me they're going to Portugal, and like life was giving me something to respond to.
Right.
To know that was the thing I should do.
Gotcha.
So responding to things comes in different formats.
Right.
So don't just expect, I'm going to walk up to you, Danielle, and say this very specific thing. And you're like, great, yes, no. But you do need to respond, and also to know when you're responding, it comes from your sacral. So what that means is, it is a guttural yes or no. We are the people. Can we swear on this?
Go ahead, yeah.
We are the fuck yes, fuck no people.
Gotcha.
I mean, everyone should be, but we are a fuck yes or fuck no. And so it's like this immediate gut response. And it's either an expansion or a contraction. If you do sort of like muscle testing, you might feel it that way. But there's no maybe. Maybe is a no.
Yeah, it's either a fuck yes or it's a no.
And a good way to practice, if you have a partner or a friend, is for them to ask you yes or no questions.
Yeah.
Not where do you want to go.
Not open-ended.
Not
so yes
open-ended.
Yes or no.
Do you want sushi? Yes or no?
That's always a fuck yes.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want tacos? Yes or no? And you can go through it, and it also will help you get the practice of listening to your yes or no. So it's a really good practice thing. And I think, and the idea within human design is you really should start figuring out how to live your type, strategy, and authority first before you even dive into the rest of those things.
Gotcha.
So if those are really humming along, everything else is important, but if you're not even doing those things, it's kind of like it negates the rest.
Gotcha. So that's a great intro to human design.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you want a little bit about your profile?
Sure.
Just quickly. So it's you're a 5-1. So you have a natural ability to lead, and other people are attracted to you. The challenge is people see you as the hero. And you're not here to save others because you're a mirror to them. And so you don't have to do anything. You're just a mirror. That's just the way you are. And so others project onto you. And so there's two things. So you want to follow your strategy and authority, like we said. When you're come involved with people or projects, you're not going to save the day. Remember that. Don't let them think that, even though you could. And if you enter into something that's not right for you, you're going to feel tension, frustration, and disappointment. So you need to trust your intuition.
Wow. So interesting that is what you said, because obviously, like my work as a physio, I have considered myself a healer up until recently. I had a download that was like, no, I'm actually not your healer. I'm a healing facilitator. And that was a huge perspective shift for me, because I, kind of was like, oh, I can fix this person. I'm a fixer. I'm going to do this. And I, studied every modality on the planet to help fix people. And I realized, no, I'm not a fixer. I'm not a healer. I can help facilitate your own healing. And that was
I love analogies, obviously. So it's like you're teaching someone to fish versus giving them a fish.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, because then you're empowering others. That's the same, hope that I have, is I don't want to be the person that only has the answers for you.
Yeah.
We're here to facilitate the path for you to find the answers. So that's a natural piece for you, and that's a really great realization. The other side is that because people project on to you, you can get into unhealthy relationships. So you need to really focus on you and making sure that you don't get pulled into those pieces. And then you become a magnet for people that are at that energy.
The higher energies,
the higher
higher vibrations.
So you really want to nurture healthy relationships, enforce strong boundaries. And then just know that you do have to sometimes cut people off because perhaps you've gained a few projects or people along the way that maybe aren't serving you.
Right.
And maybe they evolve and it changes, but something to keep in mind. So it's kind of high level, some of your human design. Your 5, it's a 5-1. 5 comes first, so it means that you're part of the collective.
Okay.
And the 5 is first, which means this thing that you probably innately know about yourself.
Right.
And the 1 is the thing that you're learning in this lifetime. Yeah.
I can't wait to read more about that.
A little bit of that. And then if we look into your into the chart, into your astrocartography. So interestingly enough, you were sort of born under no specific energy. There's a little bit of maybe moon's node influence, but what I find when people are born not under a direct line is that you probably experience where you go more intensely.
Yes.
So let's say my lines interact with where I go, and then we mingle and get a result.
Yeah.
You might have more of a pure experience of the line in which you visit.
Okay.
That's how I've been seeing it for people. And then remind me, what did you want to...
Well, I have a couple trips coming up.
Okay.
I'm actually going to the Yukon in a week and a half to go do some healing facilitation.
Oh yeah, this is going to be amazing for you. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to Dawson City, Yukon, which is about 5 hours northwest of Whitehorse. And I know when I've looked at this before, there's actually a lot of stuff happening around there.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. So you have Jupiter. I'm going to use a term, don't worry about it, we can always go into it. We go into it in a fuller reading, but you have a Jupiter on the ascendant.
Okay.
And you have Neptune on the MC. So I think it's going to be a very much spiritual influenced sort of time while you're doing your work there. So Jupiter is luck, which is amazing. So it's the lucky line. We all want to know where our lucky line is.
Yeah.
So it's your lucky line. It's on the AC, which means it's how you show up. So your personality and how you're seen. So people will see there and they'll associate luck and goodwill and all this like positivity with you.
Wow.
And then you have Neptune on the MC. So MC, or the midheaven, is more about work. I know. And so Neptune is more about spirituality and intuition. So probably you'll have a lot of luck using your intuition.
Wow.
While you're there.
Very cool.
Which is really complementary to what you do. I mean, I don't want it to debunk any of the amazing work you do, but I think we can always, I only want to see people that use intuition. I want like an intuitive lawyer, and I want like an intuitive accountant, and I want like an intuitive healer, and an intuitive coworker. So obviously that's my preference, but I think intuition is a very positive thing. That's how you'll find it.
And I do use it in my work as much as I can.
Also, I think you did a retreat in Mexico.
Yes.
So in Mexico, specifically on the like Baja, that side of things, you have your sun on the MC. So the sun is where we shine. It's kind of like the fame lands where like you just are beaming, and it's on your MC, which is on your work line. So it's where you'd be well received for work that you do there.
Amazing.
And you would find it really clicks. It goes through other places in North America as well, but Mexico is a really fun place to go.
Amazing.
Maybe one more. What else did you want to look at?
We're actually planning a trip to Peru in the fall.
We looked at this already too before. Let me just remind myself. Peru.
Peru.
I'm sure I'm embarrassing myself. So in Peru, oh my gosh, of course. So you have your Venus line in Peru, specifically in the Lima district. Venus is obviously all things love, but it's MC again. So we're talking about lots of your work stuff here, which is cool.
Wow.
So you have Venus on the MC, which means that you'll be loved for the work you do. You'll feel warm and accepted. You'll be really well received. You're also born on a Friday, which is Venus Day. So Vendredi is Friday. So you probably have a little bit of that influence as well. So every day of the week has a planet. I'll be on my Instagram talking about these things more, but they have a planetary influence. Some say that the day you were born also influences you, but you have this beautiful Venus line.
That's why I love Friday so much.
It's all right, girl. It loves you. There is Mars going through there, so there will be some maybe structure some hard work. It is on a sort of an unfavorable Mars line, so just want to be cautious about anything that maybe comes up that's a little bit tumultuous there. So if you're going with somebody, that's Mars right there. See, Mars is aggressive.
Wow.
There you go. So Mars is a little aggressive, like those crazy people.
Those drivers out there.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And then we can kind of finish off. I know I sort of shared a little bit of this briefly, but I had some intuitive messages if we got a little bit of time.
Absolutely.
So what I do for the intuitive messages, I kind of open up, connect to my spirit guides and your spirit guides. It's always for your best and highest good, and kind of anyone else that'll complement the message. So and then I receive it cognitively, right? And I write it out. So I find that sort of that free writing is where I express it. So what I see for you is that you're in a crossroads in many ways, and you're learning how to metabolize life in a new way, which sounds like you are.
That's very scientific too.
Very scientific. So you're redefining love and relationships. You're someone here that is going to heal, and you're learning how to heal it yourself by listening to your inner voice. Which, again, I always love when it all comes together. You're moving, out of, oh my gosh, my writing. Out of the masculine into the feminine by choosing things that are here to nourish you and your soul, because you care so deeply for everybody. Sometimes you're the last to be cared for, and so that's what you're learning is to care for yourself. My spirit guides are also kind of funny, so they wrote no more! Exclamation point.
They are funny.
And that you are on the cusp of something beautiful, life altering, and these decisions will steer your boat true north again. We didn't talk about your sort of North Star, right? But in your chart, we can also look at that, which usually tells you what you're learning in this lifetime, which I do in my reading.
Amazing.
You've been a healer in many lifetimes. Do you want me to share your spirit guides messages?
Sure.
Are you comfortable with that? Revealing some of them?
I would love that.
So I will say, I had the good fortune of knowing some of Danielle's spirit guides. One of them is Buddha. And he came in, he's quite funny, and he was like, she's one of my healers. I told her I'd come back with her and help her in this lifetime in this capacity. And then, as we talked about before, Einstein quickly chimed in afterwards and said that you were one of many who will marry science and spirituality together. That you're kind and gentle and true, and someone people will listen to. So your magic is to share confidently and loudly what you believe in. And maybe on the scientific terms, they said you'll infect people with that belief.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to talk about the past life thing I got?
Sure.
And then so Danielle's had a few challenges with knees, and I got the message that Danielle has been a fighter pilot in her previous life in World War II. And she was in a bad crash and hurt her knees in that crash and carried that pain with that lifetime. And it's come into this lifetime. Yeah. But through healing her feminine, that's how her knees will heal. And the message I got is that part of the reason it's important for us to understand some of these energetics that influence this lifetime is that not everything can be healed from a trauma in this lifetime. Right. And by understanding ourselves more deeply, we can help pass through that energy and heal that as well.
Oh my God. Wow.
I hope that was...
Oh my God, my mind is like blown. I'm speechless. I feel like I'm just gonna like the next couple.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm like, that was so spot on. It's funny, I have like a really strong fear of flying, and obviously my knees are part of my story, and I'm learning to change that. But you said a couple sentences in there that I have been told previously by other intuitives, which is amazing. So
not good and like yay, but like good. It's always affirming to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So if someone wants to book a session with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can go to erinrogers.io.
Okay.
It's a little explanation about what the session sort of entails, and then there's a link to click and book in.
Amazing.
Or you can follow me on Instagram as well by the same handle, erinrogers.io, and I'll be posting more about all these little snippets so you can kind of learn some of these things yourselves or adopt them as you go.
Amazing. My mind is blown right now, so I can't wait for more people to receive this information. So my last question for you, and everyone on the show gets this question, what is your definition of balance?
Yeah, I laughed when I saw this. So I think my definition is there is no balance, and that's okay. Because I think for me, and I had a really dear friend tell me this earlier this year, I'm going to get teary just because that means it's real, but there is no balance, and that's okay. And that took me a long time to figure out. So balance for me looks like I have someone that comes and cleans my apartment every once in a while because I just can't get to it. balance to me means that sometimes it's out of balance, and that's fine. And sometimes you're focused in one area and the other. And to me, that really set me free from trying to find balance, because actually that was the most ironically unbalanced thing I could do.
Wow. And again, it's that pursuit of, you know, goal. This is what it looks like. This is what balance looks like. I need to do X, Y, Z to make that happen. It's again just being here instead of there.
That's our good friend Laura Murphy likes to say, just soften. Where can you soften? And part of that was accepting that there is no, for me, there is no balance, and that's fine.
Wow. That's a mic drop right there. And I want to say thank you again so much. And thank you for the reading. And I cannot wait to see where this takes you.
Awesome.
So thank you
so
again.
much.
We'll do this again because I can't wait. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this episode as expansive as I did. If you enjoyed listening, please like, subscribe, and review. It means so much to us. If you would like to learn more about The Balanced Collective and our offerings, please visit www.thebalancedcollective.com or hit us up on Instagram @thebalancedcollective. Thank you so much, and please keep spreading your light.